Hi everyone, this is Toyba from Toyslab Creations. Today I'm going to be making a baby dress with a pleated detailing. So for this dress, I'm going to be needing DK weight yarn, 4.0 mm crochet hook, and stitch markers. So to start, I'm going to be doing size 0 to 6 months. So I'm going to start with a slip knot and then chain 54. So go ahead and chain 54, and I'll join you at the end of when I'm through with making my chains. So I've chained 54. Now I'm going to skip the first chain and the second chain from the hook, and into the third chain from the hook I'm going to make a double crochet. So yarn over, and into the third chain from the hook make a double crochet. So I'm going to mark my first stitch, and then I'll go ahead and make a double crochet into each chain along, and at the end of row 1 we should have a total of 52 double crochets. So I'm through with row 1 and I have 52 double crochets. So moving on to row 2 now, I'm going to chain 2. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch. Turn and make a double crochet into the first stitch. I'll mark my first stitch, and then I'll go ahead and make additional 6 double crochets. So that will be 7 double crochets in all. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then into the next stitch I'm going to make 2 double crochets. 1 and 2 into the same stitch, chain 1, and then make 2 additional double crochets into the same stitch. 1 and 2, all in the same stitch. So I'm going to continue, make 1 double crochet into the next 10 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the last one 10. So into the next stitch now I'm going to repeat the increases that I did here before. So 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. So next I'm going to make 1 double crochet in the next 14 stitches. So 1. Also, if you want to make this dress in other sizes, the PDF pattern is available in my Ravelry, Etsy, and Lovecraft stores. You can also work with the written pattern to available on my blog for size 0 to 6 months. So I just go ahead and finish my 14 double crochets. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the last one 14. So into the next stitch I'm going to do the increases again, 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets again, all in the same stitch. Then I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the next 10 stitches, then do my increases again, and then 1 double crochet in the last 7 stitches. So just go ahead and do that, and I'll join you when I'm through with mine. So I'm through with my 10 double crochets. I made my increases here, and then I made 1 double crochet into the last 7 stitches. So I'm through with row 2 now. So moving on to row 3, I'm going to chain 2. My chain 2 does not count as a stitch. I'm going to make a double crochet into the very first stitch. I'm going to mark my stitch. And I'm going to make a double crochet into each stitch until I get to the chain 1 space. So basically I'm just going to make a double crochet into each stitch. So I should have a total of 9 double crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So you can see I've gotten to the chain 1 space. So into this chain 1 space, I'm going to make my increases again. So 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 1, and then make 2 double crochets, all in the same space. And I'm going to continue to double crochet into each stitch until I get to the next chain 1 space. And I'm going to repeat the increases again, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, then double crochet into each of the next stitches until I get to the next chain 1 space. So basically I'm going to have 14 double crochets, then I'll do my increases here, then 18 double crochets, then I'll do my increases here, then 14 double crochets, I'll do my increases, then I'll finish the row with 9 double crochets. So just go ahead and do that, and I'll join you at the end of the row. So I'm through with row 3, and I can see my bodies already forming. So you can see. Now I'm going to continue to row 6. So the process is simple. Chain 2, turn, make a double crochet into the first stitch. I'll mark my stitch. Then I'll make a double crochet into each stitch until you get to the chain 1 space. When you get to the chain 1 space, you make 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and then continue with double crochet into each stitch until you get to the next chain 1 space, and then do 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and continue along until you get to the next chain space, and then you do your increases again, and then you continue with double crochets until you get to your next chain space, and then you do increases again, and then you finish the row with double crochet into each stitch across. So I will join you at the end of row 6. So just continue the simple sequence, and I'll join you when I'm through with row 6. So I've made it to row 6. This is what I have so far. So I made 15 double crochets here, then 4 double crochets for the increases here, then 26 here, then another 4 for the increases, then 30, another 4 for the increases, 26, then another 4 for the increases, and then I finished the row with 15 double crochets. So in total I have 120 double crochet at the end of row 6. So moving on to row 7 now, I'm going to separate the sleeves. So I'm going to chain 2, start my row as usual, chain 2, 1, 2, turn, then make a double crochet into the first stitch. I'll mark my stitch. Now I'll make a double crochet into each stitch until I get to the chain 1 space, and I'll join you at that point. So I've made it to the chain 1 space, and I've made 17 double crochets. So into the chain 1 space, I'm going to make a double crochet, chain 1, and then I'll reach over to the next chain 1 space, and then make a double crochet into that too. So I've skipped this part, and that will be our sleeve. So I'll continue on this other end and then make a double crochet in each stitch until I get to the next chain one space. So I'll join you at that point. So I've made the next chain one space, so I made a total of 34 double crochets here. So into the next chain one space, I'm going to make a double crochet, chain one. Now reach over to the next chain one space. I'm going to skip all this and then make a double crochet into the next chain one space. So this is the second sleeve. Then I'll continue and I'll make a double crochet into each of these 17 stitches. So I'll join you when I'm through with my 17 double crochets. So I've made my 17 double crochets. So I'm going to finish the round with a slip stitch. So I'm going to join this 7th row. So to do our first round. So now moving on to round 8, I'm going to chain 2. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch. I'll make a double crochet into the first stitch and mark my stitch. Then I'll make a double crochet into the next 28 stitches. So the double crochet we made into the chain 1 space here, the chain 1 itself, the chain 1 we made in between, and then the double crochet on this other end to count as stitches. So I'm just going to work into the next 28 stitches after this first one. That's 29 double crochets in all, and I'll join you when I'm through with my 29 double crochets. I've made 29 double crochets. You can see I worked into the chain, the double crochet I made into the chain 1 space, the chain 1, and then the other double crochet I made into the chain 1 space. So they count as stitches. So I have 29 double crochets now. So the next thing to do is I'm going to make 8 double crochets in front loops only. So this is my front loop, the loop that is closest to me. So I'm going to make a double crochet into this one. I want to mark this. I want to note it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one 8. We are making our pleats now. So to finish this pleat, I'm going to turn my work and make a double crochet into the back loops only. So I'll go into the back loop of each one until I have 8. So this is the second one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one. You can see the back loop, 8. Then I'll turn my work again and then work into the same back loop again, making double crochets. So one, make sure you don't skip anyone. 2, I'm working into the back loops again of each one. You can see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one 8. So you can see what we have so far. So now I'm going to continue into these stitches I've not worked into. It's going to be a kissing pleating, so a kissing pleat rather. So I'm going to work into the back loops of this one now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to work into the front loop. We're going back now. So 1, 2, the front loops only, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next one 7, and the last one 8. We're going to turn and then make double crochets into front loops only again. So we're going to go into the first one, work into front loops, double crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one into the front loop only, 8. So you can see our pleat so far. So I'm just going to continue, make a double crochet in the remaining 29 stitches. So I'll just go ahead and do my 29 double crochets, and I'll join you when I'm through with my 29 double crochets. So I've made my 29 double crochets, and I'm going to finish round 8 now with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. Now from round 9 forward, I'm going to drop my 4.0 and start using my 5.0 mm hook. And to start the next row, I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This chain 5 stands for a double crochet and chain 2. So I'm going to mark my third, 1, 2, 3, my third chain. That will be the top of the double crochet. Then this is the chain 2. Then I'll make a double crochet into the same stitch. So that's essentially a V stitch, a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet all in the same stitch. So that stands for a V stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to skip 2, 1, 2, and into the next stitch make a puff stitch. So to make a puff stitch, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the I'm skipping to 1, 2 and to the next stitch. I'll start my hook there, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to do that 3 more times. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 more times, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, and the last one, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 9 loops on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through all. So I'm going to chain 1 to secure. Then I'm going to skip 2 again, 1, 2, and then make a V-stitch into the next stitch. That will be a double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and a double crochet in the same stitch. Then I'll skip 2 again, 1, 2, and then make a puff stitch in the next stitch. So basically I'm just going to keep repeating that. Make a puff stitch in a stitch. That's 2, 3, and the last time 4. Yarn over, pull through all the loops, chain 1 to secure, then yarn over, skip 2 stitches and make a V-stitch in the next stitch. So you're just going to be making V-stitch in a stitch, skip 2, and then make puff stitch in the next one, and just keep repeating that around. Make sure when you finish your puff stitch, you chain 1 to secure before you continue to the next V-stitch. So I'll just keep repeating that until I get to the end here, and I'll join you when I'm about to finish this round. So I'm about to finish the round. I just made a V-stitch and I have 1, 2, 3 stitches left. So I'm going to skip this 3. So I was skipping, so I'm going to skip this 3 and then slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, which stands as our first double crochet of the round. So that's how I completed round 9. Now I'm going to start, instead of starting with a V-stitch again, I'm going to start with a puff stitch. But before I do that, I counted 19 stitches. I didn't use this row, I used this row to count 19 stitches to this point, and this where my 19th stitch is. That's where we work this V-stitch into here, and then my 19th stitch here is where this puff stitch is. So I marked both ends because I'm going to be making increases at those points. So to start round 10 now, I'm going to pull up my yarn because I'm starting with the puff stitch. Yarn over, insert into this space, yarn over, pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook. I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. 2, 3, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So one more time. We have 9 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all. Then we chain 1 to secure. So I'm going to mark the top of that chain 1. Now go ahead and then make a V-stitch on top of the puff stitch from the previous row. So I'm just alternating it. It's a double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and a double crochet in the same stitch. Then I'm going to make a puff stitch into this V-stitch. Just keep repeating that until I get to where I'm going to do my increases. Chain 1, then make a V-stitch into the next one. Again, you can find the written pattern in both US and UK terms on my blog. I'll leave the link in the description below. So I'm going to make a puff stitch into this one again. And then pull through all, chain 1, Then I'm going to make a V stitch here. Now at this point I'm supposed to make a puff stitch here, so I'm going to remove the stitch marker, and into this I'm going to make a puff stitch. So, sorry, 3 and 4. That's our puff stitch. Chain 1. Then I'll make a V stitch into the same stitch. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Then I'll make another puff stitch into the same space. So we're making 3 different stitches into one. So that will be an increase of 2 stitches. 3, and the last one 4. And over and pull through all. Chain 1 to secure, and then we'll continue as normal. The next stitch is a V stitch, so I'll make a V stitch into this, chain 2, and finish the V stitch. So just keep doing that. Remember, we are going to work into the pleat too, so until we get to this point, and then we'll repeat the same thing here. Then so this at this point I'm going to be making a V stitch, a puff stitch, and a V stitch. Then you continue with puff stitch, and then we finish the round. So I'll join you at the end of the round. So I'm through with the round. So to start the new round now, I'm going to start with the V stitch. So I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, this chain 5 is a double crochet and chain 2. So I'm going to mark the third chain. 1, 2, 3. And then make a double crochet into the same stitch. Then we'll make a puff stitch into this V stitch. 2, 3, and the final one 4. Pull through, chain to secure. So I'm just going to keep repeating that until we get to the point where we did our increases. So I marked the middle stitch. Remember, we did a puff stitch, V stitch, and then a puff stitch in the same. So I marked the V stitch in between. So that's the middle now. That's the midpoint now. So I'm just going to keep doing a stitch in each one until we get to this point. There won't be any increases on this row, so I'll just join you when I get to this point. So I've gotten to where we made the increases previously. So into this puff stitch now, I'm going to make a V stitch, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet, all in the same stitch. Then I'm going to remove the stitch marker and then make a puff stitch into this space, into the chain 2 space. And 4. And over, pull through, chain 1 to secure. So this will be the new stitch I'm going to mark. And then I'll make a V stitch on top of the puff stitch. So there's no increases on this row. So I just continue. The next stitch will be a puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next will be a V stitch. Just keep doing that until I get to this point, and then I'll make a puff stitch into this, a V stitch into this, a puff stitch into this. I'm going to mark my V stitch here, and then I'll continue until the end. So I'll join you at the end of the row. Round 11, I'm going to remove my stitch marker and then finish the round with a slip stitch to the chain 3 that comes out of the first double crochet of the round. So this is what we have so far. You can see we didn't make any increases on round 11. So moving on to round 12, I'm going to start with a puff stitch since the first stitch is a V stitch. So I'm going to pull my yarn a bit and over, going to the chain 2 space. That's 1, 2, 3, and the last one 4. Yarn over and pull through all, chain 1 to secure. Going to mark that. So basically we are repeating round 10. So yarn over, we're going to make a V stitch on top of this puff stitch, double crochet, chain 2 and 2, and double crochet in the same stitch. So you're just going to keep repeating until we get to the marked stitch here, and then we're going to make our increases. We're going to make a V stitch, a puff stitch, and a V stitch into this space. Then we're going to make a puff stitch here and then continue until we get to the other point here. I'm going to make a puff stitch, a V stitch, and a puff stitch, then continue with the V stitch until we get to the end. So basically we're just repeating round 10. You're going to make increases at the marked point. So just go ahead and repeat round 10 and round 11. Round 11 will be the next row. That our 13th row will be a repeat of round 11. We're just going to make a stitch in each one. There won't be any increases. So basically I'm just going to keep repeating rounds 10 and 11. So I'm going to do that 4 more times. So that means I'm going to be having 5 rows of increases. So I will join you when I'm through with an additional 8 rows. So just go ahead and repeat rounds 10 and 11 4 more times, and I will join you when I'm through with that. To round 19 by repeating rounds 10 and 11. So round 19 is a round of no increases. So from now on, I'm not going to be making any increases again. Then also I would like to mention that do not allow 2 V stitches to follow each other or 2 puff stitches to follow each other. Make sure you're always alternating. And the way you can confirm that is that each row, when a row starts with the puff stitch, it ends with the puff stitch, and when it starts with a V stitch, it ends with the V stitch. Even the increases, make sure you alternate the puff and the V stitches. Make sure no 2 V stitches or 2 puff stitches are following each other. So to continue now, I'm going to start my round 20. This is going to start with a puff stitch because the previous row started with a V stitch. So I'm going to pull up my yarn over, insert into the chain 2 space. That's 1, 2, 3, and the last one 4. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all, chain 1 to secure. I'm going to mark that, and then I'll continue a V stitch on top of the next puff stitch, and just keep alternating all the way around. So I'll end this round with a puff stitch. So just go ahead and finish round 20, and I'll join you when I'm through with mine. So I'm about to finish round 20. I'm going to remove the stitch marker and finish the round with the slip stitch to the top of the puff stitch, first puff stitch of the round. So now moving on to row 21. Next round is going to start with the V stitch. So I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, this chain 5 is a double crochet and chain 2. So I'm going to mark the 3rd chain. That will be the top of our double crochet. And I'm going to make a double crochet in the same stitch. So that's the first V stitch of the round. Then I'm going to make a puff stitch into the next stitch. I'm just going to keep alternating like we have been doing before. So I'll continue around, and this round should end with a V stitch too. So I just keep repeating rows 20 and 21 3 more times after row 21. So I'll join you when I'm through with at the end of the 3rd repeat. So I've made it to row 27. So I'm going to make 1 more row, and that will be a repeat of row 20. So I'm going to pull my yarn up, then I'll start with a puff stitch into the chain 2 of the previous V stitch from the previous row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over and pull through, or chain 1 to secure. So I'm going to mark that. Then I'll make a V stitch on top of the next puff stitch. Chain 2, and then a V stitch into the same space. So I'll just go ahead and just repeat row 20, and that will be the end of the dress. I'll just finish the round, chain 1 and cut yarn, and I'll come back to show you what to do next. So I finished my 28th row, and this is what we have so far. So I'm through with the dress. So I want to make a little embellishment here. I'm going to be making a bow that I'm going to be attaching to this point. So I'm going to be using white for the bow. So start the bow. I'm going to be using 5.0 mm hook also. So I'm going to start with a slip knot and then chain 19. So go ahead and chain 19. I'll join you at the end of my chains. So I've chained 19. Now I'm going to skip the first chain from the hook. I need the second chain from the hook. I'm going to make a single crochet, and then make a single crochet all the way across. So at the end of row 1, I'll have a total of 18 single crochets. So just go ahead and finish row 1, and I'll join you at the end of row 1. So I finished row 1 and I have 18 single crochets. So moving on to row 2 now, I'm going to chain 1, turn, and make a single crochet into the first stitch and the single crochet all the way across. So I'm just going to keep repeating that, making 18 single crochets on each row until I get to row 18. So just go ahead and make your rows of single crochet, making sure that you're having 18 single crochets on each row until you get to row 18. So I will join you when I get to row 18. So I've made it to row 18. So the next thing now is to do the edge. I'm going to make an edge around this piece. So to start, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then turn. This chain 3 does not count as a stitch. I'm going to yarn over twice and make a treble crochet into the first stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So that's a treble crochet. I'm going to mark the top of my first stitch, and then I'm going to make a slip stitch into the next stitch. And then yarn over twice again. I'll make a treble crochet into the next stitch. So 3, and a slip stitch into the next one. So you're just going to keep alternating a treble crochet, a slip stitch, a treble crochet, a slip stitch until you get to this point. So I'll join you at this point to show you what to do next. So I've made it to the last stitch on this row. So now I'm going to work on this side. So I'm going to be working on the side of each row. So I'm going to yarn over twice. I'm going to the first one here, and then do my treble crochet. Let me take that again. So yarn over twice, going to the first one there, and then finish a treble crochet. And I'm going to make a slip stitch into the next one, and then a treble into the next one. I'm just going to repeat that around to this point, continue all the way until I get back to where I started. So I'll just go ahead and finish that, and I'll join you at this point. So I've gone around, and then I slip stitch to the beginning, chain 1 and cut my yarn, and this is what we have so far. So to finish this bow now, I'm going to wrap the other yarn around the center to form a bow. So I just go ahead and do that off camera. I just wrap this other yarn around and then attach it to the dress. So I'll just go ahead and do that off camera, and I'll come back to show you. With the bow, this is what it looks like now. So I'm going to attach it to this point where we started our pleat. So I'm just going to place it like this. So you can decide to sew it on or use a glue gun, so you can decide on that. Also, I'm going to attach a button that is small enough to pass through the back here. So I'll attach a button here and then close it through in between the double crochets here. So that'll be all for this tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. You can find a free written pattern on my blog, and also the paid pattern that contains 3 other sizing options apart from this in my Etsy, Ravelry and Lovecraft stores. So I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. Hope to see you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.